What does it take to produce music that you desire the most? Is it to have the most fancy gear? Is it musical background? Is it having the latest gear, the coolest gear, the best, fanciest, biggest studio? Or is it having tons of time on hand? I don't know, but you probably guessed it. I think it's nothing above, maybe time, I don't know. But anyway, about 3 years ago I made a little blog post with Ilario Liburni, which is the owner of Invade Records, which has lots of great releases from artists like Rhadoo, Ricardo Villalobos, and of course from himself, right? So I had the opportunity back in 2018 to ask him some questions about different aspects of music, right? To come back to the question in the beginning, what does it take to produce music that you desire the most? I think in the end it really comes just simply down to the mindset and how you think about it and how you act on it, right? So my goal for this video is really to spark some inspiration for the mental game of the music production game, right? Hey friends, Silvana here from Ruffin Studio.com. Sometimes when I have a little bit of time, this most often happens on the toilet, I swipe through my phone, old pictures, and that just happens the other day, and then I found some screenshots, you know, from 2018. So basically this Q&A popped up on the screen and I thought, yeah, these questions and answers are actually worth sharing, I guess, you know. And I picked 10 what I call golden nuggets for the production game, so you can adapt and implement them to your very own workflow or mindset, right? Okay, let's start with the first few questions about his production game, right? About his production. Number one question, what are you thinking of whenever you start a new track? Do you have already some ideas in mind, or do you just start jamming? And then his answer was pure jamming. I never know where the track is going. Sometimes I start with a really deep minimal sound and finally ends up as a checking house track or the other way around, right? So he says cool sounds come out of playing with these knobs on the synths, and usually when I try to make something that's in my head, it's a waste of time. Not that I don't manage to make it, but it just sounds better in my head than when it comes out of the speakers. I prefer to hear a cool sound or loop and work around that, he said. Next question. You have tons of gear. Some producers say that less is more and that too many options can actually overwhelm you and your creativity. What do you think about this? His answer, I just like to play and experiment with hardware synths, but it is perfectly possible to make awesome music in the box, right? I'm pretty lazy, so it happens sometimes that I'm sitting in my chair with my feet on the desk and the only gear I'm using is my computer. Next question, how is the learning process when you get new gear? Hardware, software, and so on, right? I read an interview with Warhot where he said that he read every manual of his machines very carefully, right? What is your strategy about learning new gear? His answer, I don't like to read and certainly don't like to read manuals. I'm pretty sure I don't know everything about my synths, but enough for my needs. Now and then I peep into the manual if I really need to figure something out, but most of the time it's trial and error. Again, experimenting, right? Next question, what are the top 3 learnings in production that you had in the last 6 months? His answer, I've always been pretty sloppy with mixing. In the past, I wanted to finish the tracks fast and didn't pay a lot of attention to the mix. That is something I've been working on lately, and it's really interesting to learn using plugins and to use your ears right. Take your time to make something sound better. Listen again and again with fresh ears until it sounds better than a few days earlier. Don't work too long in the studio. The ears and the mind need some rest. You will make bad decisions when you're tired and half deaf. I agree with that. Next question, are there sometimes situations where you listen to a track and ask yourself, damn, how did producer X, Y, and Z this fucking sound, right? And then his answer, yes, of course, there are geniuses out there that can create amazing sound. It's hard to compete against them in the studio. They are so talented and maybe they have a musical background. I'm more than happy with my skills right now, but I'm learning every day and I hope to improve my sound by practicing. Next question, how do you explore to find this new sound or that specific sound that you heard? His answer, I listen to a lot of music of artists I like and I try to decompose the tracks, trying to figure out how they make these catchy elements like bass, drums and gimmicks, what kinds of synths they might be using to create them, and so on, right? Sometimes it happens that I create a sound by accident and it reminds me of a really cool track that I heard before. I will definitely start to work on that sound, right? Next question, do you challenge yourself in the studio, let's say with time limitations or something else? Do you have any specific techniques for that? His answer, if you're working too long on a track, you might get lost and lose time. Don't hesitate, delete and start fresh again. Next question, a weird one. This question sounds a little bit weird, but I think it's one of the most important for many music producers out there. How do you manage your time with your friends, relationship, work, production, etc.? His answer, well, for me it's hard too. I have a day job. I work every day from 8 to approximately 6 p.m. except in the weekend in my father's company as a warehouse manager. Coming back home from work, I'm helping my girlfriend with cooking, dinner, doing dishes, take a shower, spending some time with my girlfriend, and most of the time I'm too tired or lazy to start working in the studio. So usually drop myself on the couch and watch TV. I also do sports like running, futsal, and what's a futsal, and gym. So let's say I almost never work in the studio during the week. In the weekends I try to work as much as possible, but then there are also gigs and I love to hang out with my friends. No, I don't have that much time. Hope to get more time in the future because I really need to hit that studio more often. Next question, is it a difference when you listen to good and bad mixed promos? Would it affect how you would choose tracks for your label? His answer, yes, of course. I think it's important that the demos already need to sound as it should be, right? It doesn't have to be mastered though, just a fine finished mix will do. Next question from me. How important is it for you to receive proper mixed promos? This is a follow-up questions. Demos that are not properly mixed tells a lot about the artist. If they can't deliver a proper mix, I don't think they are ready for sending out demos. And by the way, here's a little note from myself. If you struggle sometimes to get that low end, that kick and bass relationship nice and tightly inside your tracks, I believe a very important task to do, especially for club music, right? I have a little 7-step low end checklist, so if you want to download that, you can grab it for free, of course. Just click the link below and go to the download. And yeah, those are the 10 questions already. And let's sum it up quickly again with the 4 biggest takeaways from this little Q&A. So number 1, he has lots of hardware synths, but said that it doesn't really matter what we use, right? So really I think it comes again down to mindset and workflow and how we think and act on it, on creativity. And also that we don't really need to know everything, but rather do stuff by trial and error and experimentation, right? Number 2, he also doesn't have a lot of time, but still became a very skilled producer where, for example, Rhadoo remixed his tracks, right? The key takeaway, in my opinion, is that it's not a quick fix. It takes time to do so. And here's he's a great example. You can become really skilled if you just give it enough time, not time in the small, but in years maybe, you know. We are talking about years, not just weeks or months, you know. In my opinion, that's my opinion. Takeaway number 3, using some kind of limitation and don't work too long in the studio, and taking enough breaks because the ears and mind need some rest. Also because our decision making gets worse when we are tired. So don't feel bad if you take some breaks. I think breaks are actually sometimes really a gift, because oftentimes it's the time in between the sessions where the creativity and ideas and the problem solving things happen. At least that's the case for me. Number 4, he said kind of that we should finish tracks as quickly as possible, otherwise we can get lost in them if we spend too much time on them. And honestly, I discovered similar, and I think it's because the longer we spend on a track, the more we tend to overthink on all kind of things, right? And yeah, those are the 4 takeaways and Q&A. So yeah, my question, what is your key takeaway from this little Q&A? Was this actually helpful? Let me know in the comment section. Should I do more like Q&A sessions maybe? Maybe should I reach out to other producers and ask them for Q&As, you know? Maybe you have recommendations or whatever, right? Now my question to you, what can you use for your next track? Is it maybe to use a limited time frame to finish your track, creating a fictional specific deadline, like I will finish that track, that arrangement, that idea until Sunday evening 8 p.m. Even if it's not perfect, but 70% of my current skill set, I will finish it and then it's done, right? I mean, you can always come back to all the projects and fix things, right? Or listen 1 week later to it and then you go back and fix it. So yeah, that's it. Hope you like this kind of video. It's a little bit different than the other ones, but my main goal is really to spark and empower people out there. Sit down in the studio. That's my main reason for doing all those videos, this channel and whatever. And yeah, hope it sparks some inspiration and spending some time in the studio. Thanks again for your time. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Cheers. Thanks.